Today I'll be comparing the queer relationships in Rope and Strangers on a Train, and how heteronormative society opposes them, conflates their crimes with their queerness, and how the heroes represent heteronormative society. Queer characters in Hitchcock films are never allowed to be openly queer. Instead, their relationships are hidden within subtext, subtle clues, and the actors' performances. In both of these films, Hitchcock shows queerness as either being intimate or threatening, a secret that must be kept, or a psychopathic stalker, but they both share a similarity. Their queerness excludes them from heterosexual relationships, from participating in heteronormative society. In Queer Hitchcock, Alexander Doty writes, Hitchcock dandies are always A. criminals, and B. antagonists and doubles of the film's heroes, demarcated from the heroes by their queer sexuality, which excludes them from entering into a normative heterosexual relationship. So basically, what this is saying is that the queer characters in Hitchcock films are always criminals, and they are demarcated from the heroes who represent heteronormative society by not only their crimes, but also their queerness, which is tied into their identity in these films. Released in 1948, Rope is one of Hitchcock's most queer-coded films. The plot, adapted from a stage play the same name, is based on the Leopold and Loeb murder case. The characters Brandon and Philip are very overtly performed as a couple, even though the film never says that straight up. Even the act of the murder is a euphemism for homosexual sex between the three men, especially with the dialogue that comes right after. Brandon and Philip share a home. They are very intimate with each other, and most of all, they have committed a murder together, and they are the only ones that know this secret. In fact, the murder, done with a rope, symbolizes their bond in relation to each other and with the murder itself. Heteronormative society, represented by Rupert Cattle, played by Jimmy Stewart, forces them to keep both the murder and the relationship a secret. Rupert Cattle, the schoolmaster that eventually finds out about Brandon and Philip's murder, is the representation of heteronormative society here. He's the only person that catches on to Brandon and Philip's murder and seems inquisitive of not only their crimes, but also their relationship. Since Brandon and Philip's murder is so closely tied to their queerness, it is implied that Rupert is not only digging deeper into the couple's crime, but also their relationship status. This suspicion further demarcates Brandon and Philip from the heterosexual hero, Rupert Cattle. In 1951, Hitchcock adapted Patricia Highsmith's 1950 novel, Strangers on a Train. In Strangers on a Train, Bruno comes to Guy with the proposition to swap murderers to free themselves from their societal burdens, which is seen as a joke by Guy. However, Bruno is being completely serious. The proposition, which is only carried out by Bruno, can be seen not only as an exchange of favors, but also a bond between the two men, which would turn into obsession. Bruno is flamboyant, persistent, and obsessive towards Guy. He touches Guy many times and talks to him with a layer of familiarity that feels very romantic. Additionally, just like Rope, there's a clear euphemism here for homosexuality, that being in how Bruno smokes but Guy does not. Hitchcock often uses Freudian connection, such as this oral fixation here. Guy is the complete opposite of Bruno, being the representation of heteronormative society in Strangers on a Train. He has a future career in government, marriage, and a celebrity status, all of which would be certainly ruined if he reciprocated Bruno's queerness. In conclusion, the two queer relationships in Rope and Strangers on a Train set the characters apart from heteronormative society in different ways, relating to Doty's term of demarcating. In Rope, the relationship is already established, and Brandon and Philip Both have to hide their sexuality from heteronormative society along with their murder. In Strangers on a Train, the villain is a queer-coded man who is shown as a threat to the livelihood and our reputation of our protagonist, demarcating him and possibly our protagonist from heteronormative society, if he was to give in to the temptation of murder. Hitchcock's queer characters often relate crime to their queerness, which demarcates them from the heroes and thus heteronormative society.